venues Ōtautahi. Back up to the table.
All right, morning everyone. Nice to see you all. All right, we'll crack into it. Delighted actually to be presenting our Q3 report, albeit it feels like a lifetime ago now that we're already in nearly in July. But look, overall we've had a strong performance, and I guess it's important to note when we set our budget, we'd just come out of COVID, so we'll come out of COVID. I'm sure we're still under some sort of hangover, but it was really April that we were able to start trading again, so that's about the time that we were setting our forecasts and our budget. So you'll see that a lot of our results are actually quite significantly beyond where we thought they would be. Now that's a really, really positive outcome, and we're really, really pleased with that. But noting that next year we've built a little bit of that conservatism again into our budget, just noting that obviously it's a fairly volatile economic environment that we're heading into. But to crack into it, look, just starting off with some highlights for the quarter around event attraction. So you'll see there that we have delivered to the end of March 330 events. Now that's versus a budget of 244. If we look to the year end, we're forecasting 420, which is a 38% uplift, which is a great result. Really showing the appetite for members of our community to get back out and enjoy events and enjoy that connection between each other that was taken away from us for so long. 26.3 million in estimated economic benefit of events across the venues, and forecasting by the end of the year that being over 32 million. So again, a great result, and that's not taking into consideration the benefits of local procurement as well. From an event attraction perspective, is Gil online? Is there? Oh, he said he was in the waiting room. Sorry. Apologies, Gil.
No one in the waiting room at the moment.
Okay.
Leah will follow it up though.
Okay,
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. In terms of guests, so look, you'll see there by the end of March, over 500,000 guests through the venues, which is fantastic. Our SOI target by year end was 400,000. Based on our forecast now, we're looking at over around 700,000 guests. So that's a 70% uplift, which is again really, really awesome to see. Great to see the venues full, and a real desire to enjoy those community assets. And some of the highlights of major events. So for the full year, we had actually our target was to deliver 8 major events, and we're on track to deliver 27. So again, those major events are those that really turn the dial from an economic impact perspective. So you'll see some of the highlights there, a really diverse range of events as well across the venues. We've got Cirque du Soleil that's just finished, and we had one other in this quarter. So again, by the end of the year, that full 27, 238% uplift, which is pretty awesome. We like to continue to celebrate supporting local. So again, 78% of all our food and beverages purchased, food from the Canterbury region, and 5% from the rest of the South Island, and only 2% imported. And again, those items that are imported are generally those that we just can't grow here or get here. So it's a really small number of items, as well as us designing our menus to not need those food items that are not able to be sourced here in Canterbury. And what that translates to from a direct contribution to local suppliers, so year to date to 31 March is just over 1.5 million. Our target for the end of the year was 1.7, and we're on track to deliver close to 2 million again, and that's a 17% uplift. So wonderful story to tell, and we're seeing real benefit of those that choice and that change Obviously, our next focus, and not that we don't do it already, is to extend our local procurement philosophies to all of our supply chain, and that really inherently happens anyway, but it'll be something we'll start reporting and tracking on as well. Community access to and connection with the venues is obviously a fundamental part of what we do, and having the privilege to look after the community assets on the city's behalf. So year to date to 31 March, we've delivered 45 events that have attracted that community discount. Our year-end target was actually 40, so we're forecasting around 60 by the end of the year, and that's a value of around 126,000 to March. So again, tracking well ahead and continuing to try and grow that opportunity as well. And from a financial performance perspective, just to reiterate, and I know we do often, but this will be our first full year of trading since before the town hall opened, just because of the constraints of the last few years. So really just starting to set new baselines. The business is different, given the portfolio of venues we have and the operating model that is different than it has been in the past. So you'll see there a 4.2 million positive revenue variance to 31 March. And again, those event numbers being well beyond where we were budgeting. That's a 1.5 million positive EBITDA variance to budget. What we're doing at the minute is obviously also managing those te kaha pre-opening costs within our operating expenditure, and obviously noting there's no revenue associated with that venue as yet, so we'll continue to do that for the next year or so. So as you can see, there's a really strong start from a financial performance as well to the year. And what that's doing for us is really setting a solid foundation for what is a slightly bumpier road ahead. We're seeing significantly increased insurance costs, around that 50 to 70% is some of the information that we're receiving for our renewals. We're seeing uplifts around wages. You'll see a 10% obviously increase in the living wage, utilities, food costs. So look, this is what it's doing is setting a really solid foundation, but what we do obviously with any surplus is that really is the opportunity to offset what is not covered by council support for the repairs and maintenance of the venues. For the next financial year, the operating support from council covers about 54% of those costs. So our ability to have a surplus and deliver over and above what we need to allows us that opportunity to offset. But we are forecasting for the next 3 years a deficit result. But that comes back online, particularly as we start to recoup some of those te kaha pre-opening costs. Yeah. Sustainability. So we're making really good traction on our sustainability goals. We're taking a holistic view to sustainability, so looking at not only environmental sustainability but social and business sustainability. And in the quarter, we've now established our baseline carbon footprint, which is what we needed to do to establish our sustainability strategy and roadmap through to 2030, where we've got that target of carbon neutrality. In terms of health, safety and wellbeing, we've undertaken our independent review of our whole health and safety system, and we've progressed all of the recommendations that were provided to us in that report. And really our focus is on continuous improvement, as well as focusing on those critical risks and the management and control and monitoring of those risks. And obviously te kaha, so we continue our intensive involvement in now detailed design. But also more so from a venue perspective, starting to execute the commercial strategy. So some of the aspects of that commercial strategy have been completed, but now we're into the activation of that strategy. So, for example, things like corporate hospitality, membership, naming rights, other sponsorship opportunities, all of those things will start to translate latter stages of this year, as well as starting the event attraction strategy. So business events, for example, will start to book this far out. So we are already talking about pencil bookings for te kaha. And then more entertainment and sporting events are slightly closer as those tours are locked away. And that is the end of our presentation. So thank you, and I'll see any questions.
That's great. Thank you very much. It's always good to see that, and a good financial result too, which is fantastic. And particularly also the increase in the events as well. I mean, that's surely a symbol, I would have thought, of what's going to come when we get to Kaha online. Is that sort of fair to say?
Oh, I mean, that's an increase in events based on our current infrastructure, you know, and so, I mean, Te Kaha already, you know, the desire and the events that will attract and the diversity of those events will be an absolute game changer.
That's
Brilliant. Jake had a question. And then
just moving back to that slide about food and beverage, which, you know, we're really...
Oh, sorry, I should just say also Gil is online.
Oh,
So
okay.
he can hear us and everything as well.
I
can hear and see. Yeah.
Cool.
Odd question. I don't even know why it popped into my head. The international segment, the food, is that food and beverage?
That's just food.
Oh, it's just food,
Yeah.
right? And I just thought with beverage, like if you're selling Coca-Cola, there's no way it could be just something.
No,
seemed
getting
inconsistent.
up Coca-Cola.
But then I did
from
also
Beck's
think that Aaron as well. So, and then I wanted to get into the definition of local, whether it's owned by a corporate structure or whether produced locally. So, yeah, thanks.
Oh, all good, thank you.
I've got two questions, Sam, if that's okay. Kia ora. Just on the oh God, I've lost my place. Just on the chart of cumulative attendance at the venues. Oh, here we go. That one exactly. So February is quite low. Like, how is that what you would expect? Is that a seasonal thing? And because it's it's summer, everyone's back from holiday.
Yeah,
What's
no,
the
we
driver
tend
there?
it is like this quite often. And so you'll see October, November really busy, March really busy, and actually August was really busy as well. We had obviously All Blacks in August. So there are always peaks and troughs. So February is traditionally a little quieter.
So I guess, sorry to interrupt. Like, I guess my question is, if I had framed it properly in the first place, is that for those things where we have troughs, is there how can we? Is there anything we can do to support, improving, what you do? I mean, what are the? Because obviously there are natural troughs.
Yeah, there will always be natural troughs. So you think about when big artists tour, etc. That's when you get some of those big peaks, similar to the sporting events. So you've got the Super Rugby season, and so you'll see some of those numbers change as a result. But yes, I mean the shoulder seasons are always, and the shoulder months can always be a target. But sometimes there will always naturally be certain peaks and troughs in activity. Yeah.
Caroline, I think it's really important to note that in those early parts of the years, February, even April, we get those major sporting events, and depending on the timing of those as between months, they can make a big difference. Or whether we get, a one-day international for cricket or the various Super Rugby matches makes a huge difference as between months.
Yeah, and I think also January there is because we had Elton John, we had Jimmy Carr, we had the Black Clash. January is actually generally a bit quieter, so that again is slightly out of kilter than what we would normally have.
Because an ODI in February would probably be, and on Gil's point, would probably be would be great for February, really. Anyway, sorry, but I'll move on. My other question was, I recently went to see the musical Hamilton in Auckland. And I was thinking the whole time, we used to get musicals in Christchurch. What's the blocker for getting something like Hamilton? Because it's not a venue thing. We've got the venue.
It can be a venue thing. So, and for Hamilton, we couldn't have had Hamilton here because the rig wouldn't allow it at the arena.
Because why, sorry?
The rig wasn't sufficient for what they needed for Hamilton.
Right, oh, okay.
But it also comes down to population as well. So with musicals, obviously the long running, and unless we're a New Zealand exclusive, which obviously brings people to town and would travel here, for some of those longer running shows, you do need the population as well.
Mine's all good.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the information and the consolidated it counts. But as kind of a similar question I've asked previously, I was just trying to get a sense of across the individual venues, how are they performing? Are there venues that we have, and I know in the past we've had venues that have cost us a lot more to operate than the revenue that they bring in. So I was just trying to get a sense of across the individual venues, how each of them is performing.
Yeah, so we won't be reporting financially on each of the venues. I know we've talked about it a fair amount, but that's the benefit of having a portfolio approach. Yes, the town hall, for example, costs more to open up and run. It's a heritage building. It's big. It has a diverse range of uses. And then you've got something like the Headley Pavilion that we can open and close, and it's not being used all the time. So again, that's a cheaper venue to run. So essentially, we can report on numbers of events, numbers of guests, but we don't, not the financial performance of each of the venues.
Right, but in terms of Air Force Museum and Hagley Oval, I presume we've sort of contracted those venues rather than owning them. So
Yeah,
is there a kind of review kind of thing that we do? Or?
Yeah, we're always reviewing those arrangements. All of them are different. Obviously, the arrangements that we have with the pavilion versus the Air Force Museum, where we just host events, whereas we actually manage the repairs and maintenance at Headley Pavilion as well, whereas the Air Force Museum, we just deliver events there. So all of the models are different.
Right. And just given the
Okay,
big
have you got
costs,
many more, Yanni?
yeah, just two more. Just kind of, I understand we have a sort of ticketing thing for the town hall for heritage. Given that we've got future challenges with the Christchurch Arena in terms of the asset upgrade and also the ongoing cost of the stadium, are we looking at any other sort of ticketing strategies to get increased revenue to cover the increased costs that we're facing in terms of those specific items? I mean, Hagley Oval as well, we've got challenges too in terms of maintenance and improvements.
Yeah, so obviously the town hall, there is the heritage levy. We're not considering building any levies in for future investment or future infrastructure. It's not something that would be palatable to promoters or to build in costs that aren't associated with even the venue that they're hosting in.
Even though like Spark Arena does it in Auckland.
Yanni, I'm quite keen. We just got a few other people waiting for questions. I mean, like we say every time, you can always take these offline with Carolyn as well. She's happy to meet whenever on really specific stuff. Yeah. Okay, Andre.
Thank you. Just picking up on Councillor Field's question around February 2023, am I right in understanding that the Warriors pre-season game in February drew a higher crowd than the Crusaders opening game in the regular season in February, and that you'd no doubt be fizzing to get the Wars back next year?
Yeah, we're working closely with the Warriors. Yep, absolutely. We're really keen to see them back here. There was a real desire for the Canterbury community to see them here, and that was pre-season. It was awesome.
Knew it.
And they're very keen on Te Kaha as well.
Thank you very much. And just noting on Councillor Fields, who is fizzing for more musicals, I'd like to officially invite you to Happy Days at the Hallsville Community Hall, opening up next week.
Brilliant. Well, you guys can invite each other offline all you like. So on that note, Jake's happy to move it. Phil's happy to second it. Any discussion? All in favour? Against? Thank you. Thank you very much for coming in. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now we've got